I was looking it up once. I was thinking about Judas and his 30 pieces of silver, and I looked. All right, what can that buy in D&D? A small wooden shield. That sucks, Judas. You betrayed my lord for that. Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're breaking down our picks for the top 5 and 1 worst level 7 Sorcerer Spells.
Yes. I think we're back to form where there are a decent chunk of good spells here. We're in the 6th level department where we're like, these are all awful.
No, there are good ones. I had trouble picking 5 that I don't know that I felt like. All right, there's a lot of damage ones here, but I guess they all do like some different things. But nothing I don't want this many damage spells.
I have
Oh,
literally 2.
let me see. Maybe.
I don't know.
No, I've got 2 as well.
See, I don't have any damage spells.
All
Most
right.
of our spells aren't even
But I
damage
mean,
based.
there were other ones that I didn't pick that were damage spells.
Gotcha. I think this list might be most unaffected by meta magic. Like I think one of mine qualify, and I don't even think it matters that much.
Yeah, I didn't. That's another thing. I didn't even consider it because, and I've been making an effort to do so.
But, I mean, the ones that you tend to consider most are like twinned, and then most of these don't care about twinning. So on a note, you get one of these because you're a sorcerer, which sucks to suck. So pick a good one.
All right, that I've never been considering, but I should. All right, I guess I'll kick off the list. I picked Crown of Stars. It's always a fun one.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Sam has been consistent in rating his 1 through 5. I have not, and this is no exception. I ranked them on level 6 spells, but not here. I couldn't choose the order. Anyway, Crown of Stars. It's a lot of fun. Will it last for an hour?
Yeah, sure does. Doesn't even have concentration.
No concentration.
Huge
It's just little stars flying around your head. You can choose when you want to shoot them off.
Yep.
That allows you to do other things and have other concentration things going on at the same time. And boom, you get a crown of my stars.
Yep.
You get a star from my crown.
Summon Draconic Spirit is a real 5th level spell that you can take on Sorcerer, and you can upcast that to 6th level. And we just talked about the 6th levels last week, and they were not good. So, like, you could upcast your 5th level spell as a 6th level spell, have a 3 attacking dragon, and then as a bonus action, you're shooting off Crown of Stars. And then you can still cast more spells with your action just on your turn, right? You can throw off fireballs at the same time, lightning bolts at the same time, hold monsters at the same time. All of that can overlap, and that's pretty juiced. That's really, really good.
Yeah. And and it's worth noting, if you can somehow manage to acquire Fine Steed, then your horse can have a crown of stars on it as well.
Which is genuinely really disgustingly powerful.
Yes.
So if you have some levels in Bard, I think is when that starts to come up.
Yeah.
This feature has one small hiccup in that this actually plays worse with meta magic because quickened cantrips are often a thing sorcerers like to fall back on to get a little bit more juice out of their sheet, and this doesn't really function with quickened cantrips because the bonus actions are competing. I still think most sorcerers are going to be really happy to take Crown of Stars for just the extra giant barrage of damage that offers you for something you do right before you go into a dungeon, right? Like this is a thing you slap down before hopefully 2 fights, and you have a bunch of motes that give you a bunch of free damage in those fights. That's just all gravy to me.
Yeah, I mean, save your sorcery points for later. You can quicken something else down the line.
Or twin off some ice knives at the same time if you want to.
A bonus action to use without having to do that.
Yeah, there's gonna be real turns where you're gonna have, okay, my dragon ally goes and makes 3 attacks. I twin 2 3rd level ice knives, and then I throw a Crown of Stars at something. And the fighter's gonna be like, I guess I'll make 3 attacks and pass, and be really bummed out that they exist in the same world as you.
Yeah.
This is definitely where you're gonna see sorcerers do like, oh yeah, they're even better at wizards at this stage. The early tiers where you do not feel that way. But here's where you're definitely starting to. So we'll just go my top down then. My number 2. I don't know if it deserves this lot, but God, I love Delayed Blast Fireball. This spell is just silly. You make a spot, you wait a little bit, the larger you charge it up, the bigger the blast. That's just kind of a fun little ability, right? I think this is a really an interesting little bonus damage effect. And while it's not probably necessary, I actually think like a lot of sorcerers will get by without this. I want this on my sheet because I have a good time playing with it.
Yeah, this made my list as well. This was, what did we talk about last time with the ice
Oh,
thing with the
Luke's
pellet?
freezing sphere. I
Yes,
think something like that.
something like that. Yeah. Anyway, same sort of thing. I delay it, set a trap. The longer it's delayed, the bigger blast. That's fun.
If you ever get 22d6 damage out of this, it does hit like a truck. Like everyone dies in that space. It's really funny. There's like this is the real tool that you use to assassinate a council of like a senators or whatever, right? You just put a little red bead in the center of the room and no one notices it, and everyone is like talking and arguing and stuff, and then the bomb goes off and everyone in the room dies, and you are comfortably out of distance and you've assassinated a whole leading empire just by casting a blade blast fireball for a minute.
And just, to be clear, we are talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
FBI, yeah, we're not going to
Yes.
actually physically cast a delayed blast fireball. I do not have that capability.
All right. Yeah. Got that all clear. Good.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, they don't worry. So social or what are they called? The Secret Service won't be on our tails for sure.
All right. What else made my list? I picked reverse gravity.
That's my number 4.
Is that on there? I felt weird about because look,
God, I love this
it's
spell.
a lot of fun, but I don't know how practical it is. When am I using this except for I just want to cause a bunch of chaos and have some fun?
So this is a spell that really scales with environment. So the most fun thing I always think of with this is water. Water does some funky things whenever you throw gravity into different spaces. And that has some interesting applications. But more so, ground locked creatures get wrecked by this thing,
Yeah.
right? This just yeets them up into the sky and is a mass AoE saber die for things that have to walk on the ground. And that's powerful, especially if there isn't a ceiling. Even if there is a ceiling, if it's like a 40-foot ceiling, they're not getting to you, and you can just shoot them while they're up there. Like, this is a handy little tool that you can use in some odd ways in both out of combat and in combat. Now, is it powerful? Probably not, but it is a new, unique ability you're bringing to the table. And I think we had a video talking about reverse gravity. In that case, or we talked about it in the 7th level wizard videos. This is the kind of spell that is like a 2 or 3 times per campaign kind of spell, because like you'll cast this in some environments, the DM will go, oh god. And like they'll have to reconceptualize their entire space and how every single element of it now is affected by gravity being inverted in this specific window and area and region, and how that affects the rest of the world, and what happens to the structural integrity of things, what happens to, again, the water that might be moving around. If you do this in a spot in the ocean, everything just cascades up into the air and you get torrents pushing in and things start getting sucked from everywhere. It's super, super cool and can do a lot of wacky stuff. But again, like, it's a lot to track and a lot to manage. So,
Yeah.
talk to DM before you take this kind of thing.
But at the end of the day, you're having a good time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That'll be a memorable encounter, to say the least. Was it the right spell to cast? Yeah, but it was super memorable encounter.
All right, what else you got?
My number 3 is Etherealness. The spell's Busto. The spell's really, really good.
This also made my list. Yes.
This is one of the few you can actually twin.
Oh,
Oh, that's not true. I lied to you. Because it's
Uh-oh.
range of self. Don't listen to me. Because you can, when you upcast it, you target more things, but it changes the targeting, so it doesn't work with twin casting. Unlucky.
Right. Still, it's etherealness.
Yeah.
Going through
Basically,
walls.
no concentration, walk through walls, scout dungeons. You're on the ethereal plane. If your DM doesn't have barricades on the ethereal plane, you just walk through everywhere and scout the whole dungeon and learn the whole adventure before anyone can come at you. Retreat back to the party and go, okay, team, here are the traps, here are the monsters, here's everything that we just scouted out and saw. Last time I saw it, this was the whole inner workings of their base. Let's go do this thing. Or better yet, you etherealness through, you get to a location after carrying everyone in the bag of holding or something, and you like dump everyone out, and you just teleport in there and you're good to go. Because you can opt to like appear in an unoccupied space within there. So you can just like entirely ignore an entire dungeon, should that be your prerogative. This is the kind of spell that you do want to talk to your DM about again, because it has a really warping effect on some gameplay patterns. And while if you're not doing deep dungeon crawls, this might not come up. If you are doing deep dungeon crawls, like stuff in Yawning Portal or something, this is going to have really meaningful text that's going to give the party way more information than they're supposed to have.
But I mean, what level sorcerer are you getting 7 level spells?
13?
So, yeah. DM should be prepared for this sort of thing.
Meanwhile, rogues are doing 66 sneak attack damage. Comparable, right?
I'm fine with that.
No.
Just so long as my sorcerer buddy sneaks me in, I'll do my
As
job.
long as other people are playing the game, I'm just along for the ride. You're the toddler with the controller that's not plugged in at this tier.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
You haven't seen me play. It's
All right, fair
it's
enough.
about like that.
Okay, great. All right, what else you got?
I don't know. Let's see. All right, I think we've picked all of mine but one. Yeah, you picked four, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is, are we going to disagree on one? I picked teleport.
That's my number 5.
Oh, all right. Well, then we're 5 for 5.
5 for 5. I think you could also replace it with plane shift at the right tables. Plane shift, I think, is just slightly fewer tables than teleport is, but they do functionally the same thing, which is offer mass transit on a massive scale.
I just don't like dealing with planes.
That's fair. What have you thought of them as planets? Does that help?
No.
Okay. Fair enough. My favorite part of teleport is the variance, actually. I love
Yeah.
that this thing can just randomly screw you over. I think there's a lot of fun adventures to be had in miscasting teleport and like having to deal with landing somewhere you're not supposed to be. Or better yet, trying to go to somewhere that doesn't exist and ending up in a similar area that's just like tangentially related to where you thought you wanted to go. That'll lead to some really fun adventures that your DM can have a blast playing around with. Again, you want to talk to your DM before you take this because there might be a real world where they don't want to have to figure that crap out. So like, this is a thing that you want to discuss. This thing is like a full 2 pages in text, and the variance is wild, and you might not be able to your DM might not want to have to every single adventure decide, oh, the party wants to teleport out. I don't want to figure out where they're going. I just want them to like exit the dungeon like a regular human being. That might be a real use case to, not take the spell.
Also, even if it works, it could be useful.
Yeah, it's great if it works. If it works and you go where you want to go, it's just like it's removing the adventuring of getting there. It just goes, oh, we're there now. Fantastic. We don't have to go back through all the traps that we may have circumnavigated. Excellent.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even have to be traps. You could just be like, all right, this place is 150 miles away.
There.
Okay, that's not skipping adventuring. That is getting to the adventure without having. Well, I mean, I guess your DM could just say, all right, it's 150 miles away. You spend
3 months later.
3 months walking. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. In time-sensitive environments, I think teleport really changes the stakes of games in a lot of ways, just because time becomes sort of a non-factor as far as distance goes, right? It no longer takes time to get places. You just are there. And that makes it so you can have villains that are playing and plotting and tracking over larger distances, and that be a real thing you can compete with, right? You can deal with a god that is vanishing from point A and arriving at point B, wreaking havoc. You can chase them down. You can follow them to the new venue. You can immediately respond to large-scale, extraplanar threats invading and going around the world. You can immediately be, oh, we know there's a problem there right now, and we're there. And now we are back in the problem. We are fighting it, and then we can go elsewhere later as we need to.
And there's the reliability of teleport has to do with your familiarity with a place, correct?
Yes.
So there's always the whole thing where, all right, you have to go through the adventure to get there the first time, but once you're there, that's just another place you can reliably pop in and out of.
Yeah, you really
Which is
like.
cool.
I like that. If you have an associated object, it just always works. If you're very familiar with it, it works most of the time. Like 70.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, 75% of the time. And then everything beyond that is like you've been given a description that it's very unlikely to have occur, so you still are asked to do some kind of adventuring to get there, which is cool.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of other things like we were just talking about, chasing after gods and stuff like, or other parties or creatures that have teleport. This is something new. All right. He just blipped away. Now we got to do some kind of scrying thing. See through his eyes. I know that tree that he's looking at. I remember it well.
Or
Boom, we're there.
you've now seen it casually, so you now do have the risk where you can be like, go. Or viewed once, I guess is what I would call it. And then you have a 25% chance to get there on target. More likely you're going to be a little bit off target, but that's still a good way to chase somebody down, and that it continues the adventure in a meaningful fashion. It's pretty reasonable. It makes those divination tools a little bit more useful too. I like that now scrying pairs well with this. That's cute.
All right.
Against very specific enemies. Still, most of the time, it's trash. Whereas teleport has uses even outside of facing those specific enemies.
Wow, 5 for 5. I did not think that list was going to be that way because there's some other decent ones on here.
Like,
Well, all right, not as decent. I was this close to picking prismatic spray.
that sure was never
Now,
close to making my list.
now, for the reason that I am currently playing Sorcerer the Sorcerer,
Mhm.
and if he ever gets to the level where he can use that, he can make dirty jokes when he casts it
I like that
about his spray.
it literally is just because it has the word spray in it. That's the reason
Yes.
you get to. Okay,
That's why I took color spray.
that's even dumber. There are good spells to cast to make semen jokes. Those are not the ones to do it.
Those are absolutely the ones to do it.
Sure. Web, I'm here for. That's a good semen joke spell.
Oh, he's got web. Don't worry.
No. I've seen the art. Everyone
Oh, yes,
has.
that's
It's
true.
probably on this video.
Ah. Well, will be now.
Yeah, prismatic spray is what the definition of hot trash is what I would call it. It promises a cool random fantasy and then gives you a slightly worse fireball. And that's just not a spell that you should ever put in your character sheet, I don't think. Other dishonorable mentions, Figure of Death is not it. Not a fan of that spell even a little bit. That's just like a worse version of Disintegrate. So I guess it always is half damage, so that's nice.
What about Firestorm? I didn't even take a close look at that one.
It's Fireball but worse. Most of the damaging spells of this tier are, it's Fireball but worse. You get like 10-foot cubes lets you arrange pretty interesting area, so it does hit a pretty large space. I don't think most of the time you need to hit that kind of large space, but I think this isn't uncastable trash. It's just probably only a damage spell, and being only a damage spell this tier is kind of a disservice. And I think I prefer Delayed Bats Fireball over this kind of thing because it does more damage. But I wouldn't fault somebody for putting this on their sheet to say I want to be able to sculpt the perfect little Jenga or Tetris piece onto the map and just incinerate those targets. Right? That's kind of what this is supposed to do. That's fine.
And you can choose to not burn plants.
You can That text sure doesn't make any sense, but I'm glad it's here.
No, it doesn't make any sense. But I mean, that's all right. That is one of the things I've said before about Fireball. Like you could sometimes it's not worth causing a forest fire.
But if you got flame,
well,
Firestorm doesn't cause forest fires, but Fireball does. That is.
I didn't make the rules.
This game is dumb. This game is dumb, categorically.
What about Draconic Transformation?
I like this little effect. I think it ends up just being like a sunbeam, but slightly better because you get a fly speed. If ever concentration drops off while you're flying, it's horrendously bad. Yeah. I also don't hate that there's gold cost to this. Like you have to have the statuette to cast it in the first place, which is, an extra berry that I don't think the spell needs. I'm still not that high on it. 60-foot cone of 68 force damage round after round is fine. But like whenever we were going and talking about why Crown of Stars was so good, I mentioned all of the things you wanted to be doing with your action and concentration and bonus action. Like there's no shortage of plenty of amazing things you can do as a sorcerer. I don't really want to be spending my action round after round doing a breath weapon, I don't think.
All right, yeah.
Oh, it is a bonus action, but still. I think Crown of Stars is doing that slightly better. It's not the end of the world. It's fine. Yeah, you could probably have a good time with Draconic Transformation. Just, don't get
I don't feel bad about my picks.
Yeah, I don't either.
All right, that brings us to the worst.
Oh, this has to be easy, right?
Well, no, it wasn't. Because I mean, I know there's the obvious one, but that's not the one I went with.
Do you want me to rip the Band-Aid off and tell you that Dream of the Blue Veil is in fact worse than the power word?
Oh, all right. No, that's the one I picked. Dream of the Blue Veil.
It is so terrible.
Yeah.
This is the obvious worst one now, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, no. All right, it is when you give it a second thought, but nobody is giving a second thought to Dream of the Blue Veil. Look, I don't even understand what it's supposed to be doing.
It's astral projection for other games, for other settings, right? It's a way that you can leave the Forgotten Realms, you can leave Faerun, and go to Eberron, and go into Ravnica, and go into the other D&D multiverse of people's imaginations. That's what the spell's supposed to do. But only if you have something that's already from there. So already if your DM wants you all to leave, in which case they should give you a scroll, or a magical portal sucks you there. something else like that occurs, this spell has no business existing in this
I mean,
format.
that's how I feel about things like plane shift. That's if I'm supposed to go to a different plane of existence, yeah, DM, that's on you.
I will defend plane shift in that I think the different planes of existence are kind of an inherently built-in feature of the Forgotten Realms and
Yes.
Faerun, and I think like places like the Abyss, the Plane of Fire, there is a lot of adventuring to be had there that is inherently tied to it. So I view it more as a expansion into the upper tiers of doing the higher magic version of the existing setting, right?
Yeah.
I think that again, I'd like there to be a book. I'd like there to be a separate book for the planet intertravel stuff because I don't think it fits every D&D table. I think that there are tables that don't want to do extra planar stuff whatsoever. They want demons to be deep buried within the earth in an actual literal hell, and angels to be in very, very far above through outer space in a literal heaven, right? They want that kind of, grand cosmology to fit in one realm. The planes don't work for that.
No.
But for the quantity of players that are playing the game on its terms and playing in these games, I think Plane Shift is a home. Unlike Dream of the Blue Veil, which says, screw this particular game setting, we're going to go play in a different entire cosmology with its own unique planes and its own different things, because the DM gave us a rock from Eberron or Ravenloft or wherever.
No, like, all right, so Ravenloft, is that an entire global world?
I don't know.
Because I always pictured these different campaign settings as just like being like parts of continents that are really far away from each other, but
They
all
are different worlds. They are different
okay.
realms of existence.
Yes. Okay.
So like they're like I would consider them more different dimensions
Right.
than different planets in the way that I visualize planes, right? Where if the astral sea is space, the different planes are the planets of space, and the different dimensions are what Eberron looks like. That their material plane in Eberron is the Warforged, the Great War, all that stuff. The material plane in Forgotten Realms is Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, because
The Sword
I've
Coast.
never looked into the different campaign settings. I never used them, even as a kid. There's our campaign setting was all right. It's 10 minutes before the game. I'm gonna draw this little map on a piece of graph paper. This is where you are, and I'll make up the name later.
Yep.
And
I
that's how
think
we played.
95% of tables, from my understanding, are custom settings. That there aren't.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about 95%. A large majority is custom settings. The rest of them tend to play in Faerun. But you can have Dragonlance as a real setting. There are books for that. You can do these other settings if you really want
Yeah.
to. I will say this. I do really like playing in alternative settings. I didn't think I would, but then I DM'd out of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, and it was one of my favorite adventures, if not my favorite adventure I've ever played. The adventure was custom, and I'm a Magic nerd, so I love the setting of Ravnica dearly. But like, if you really liked the Dragonlance books, I do think there is value in running the Dragonlance setting. If you really liked like Mad Max and you want to play a Mad Max setting, do it. Like, take Dungeons and
Mhm.
Dragons, and you can translate that into that setting. You allow magic to now exist, and you can do Road Warrior stuff. It can be a really good time. Playing in existing worlds can be a really, really huge boon because it helps everyone sort of buy into the setting really easly. Whereas in the homebrew custom settings, I can often find it's hard to get buy-in from players that don't know what the factions are. They don't know my idea for world lore if it exists, right? Like if you're playing with a bunch of randos and you go, here's the world, here's the map, here we're going in. It is harder to buy a player buy-in if that's what you're looking for. You might be
Yeah.
looking for a quick dungeon to kill some monsters and owlbears and turn your brain off and have some drinks and have some fun and roll some dice. That's a great way to play. I'm not saying you shouldn't play that way. But if you do want investment, you do want buy-in, I do think existing settings can be really helpful to get that. That
Yeah.
doesn't
I
serve.
100% agree.
This is a fun tangent for a terrible spell.
Yes. Because all right. So yeah, lets you travel to one of those other dimensions.
Yeah.
Uh,
Other dishonorable mention. I thought you were going to pick Power Word Pain. I'm glad you
oh
didn't.
yeah, I was almost there, and then I was oh yeah, there's a Dream of the Blue Veil. What does that do again?
Nothing.
I have no idea.
That's normally means it's the worst.
Yeah. But no,
It
power. We talk about power word pain. It's not the worst of the power words, but it's. I think power word stun was like the best of them.
Yeah.
It's
I
still
think
really
stun it because
bad.
that hits the highest hit point threshold and stuns them.
Yes.
Pain is
Power
just
word pain. What
kill.
does that even do?
It kills threshold 100 hit points, but instead it gets crippling feet or has sorry, not crippling feet, crippling pain. It can't benefit from any speed. It cannot benefit from having more than 10 feet of speed. It has
Dude,
disadvantage
you
on
got
attack rolls,
feet on
ability
the
checks, and
mind.
saving throws, and con saves. And if it tries to cast a spell, it makes a con save or fails. It's just worse paralyzed. And it could
Yeah.
have just been paralyzed. That's what stun does. But it's not. It's worse than that. Now, granted, there's no initial save, but they do get a second save at the end of each round anyway, which makes it still just like a worse version of the 9. Not the majority of saber dice. You don't ever put this on your character sheet. If it's less than 100 hit points, just kill it. Like, don't waste your time doing
Yeah.
this kind of crap.
Seventh level spell. I need more than that.
You so much more than that. You could have a moat of stars that you're blasting this thing with, and it'll take 3 rounds to drop it with that, and then you'll have more moats to kill more things with. Are you kidding me? What is this trash?
That's better than Find the Path.
Technically, is Drain of the Blue Veil better than Find the Path? Now that's an interesting question.
I don't know, because I mean, if you have to go to a different dimension, that's on the DM.
Agreed. I would say that Astral Projection and Dream of the Blue Veil probably deserve the record for being the worst spells in the game, in that they just don't work. Whereas Find the Path technically does something. Whereas Dream of the Blue Veil just doesn't do anything. Like, it kind of in the same realm of Crate Spell, Jammer Helm. But I think that one might be slightly better than Astral Projection and Dream of the Blue Veil.
Yeah, because then you can open a store and sell spelljamming helms.
Yeah, even though they're supposed to cost as much as it takes to make them, which doesn't, that's not how economics works. But
No.
okay, D&D is not good for economics, as anyone will tell you that has even briefly touched on the gold economy that works here. Apparently wood is like way, way, way too inexpensive for how hard it is to get. So I believe that.
Oh, yeah, because I was looking it up once. I was thinking about Judas and his 30 pieces of silver, and I looked, all right, what can that buy in D&D? A small wooden shield. That sucks, Judas. You betrayed my lord for that.
That's kind of funny.
All right. And that's how we'll end.
Yeah, excellent.
All right, that was what were we just talking about? Level 7
Wild
Sorcerer
tangents
Spells.
that had nothing to do with level 7 Sorcerer Spells. This first half of this video was 7th level Sorcerer Spells. The last half of this video was just wild tangents going all over the place. Love it.
Ah, but it was the best part.
Great.
All right, thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let us know what you think down in the comments. What are your picks? What are your thoughts on our picks? And yeah, like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.